All right. Well, it's supposed to be streaming now, so if people can hear me, I'm helping out my friend Dean with testing stuff. Just because I like mentioned it in a chat, and I thought it'd be really cool if we could sort of just dive in and explore it. And I thought, hey, I really want to start streaming these conversations. So yeah, here we are. And so I've just, oh, by the way, a lot of you might not know this, but
Yep, it's working.
yeah, okay, sweet, it's working. A lot of you might know that not know this yet, but the new way of creating a new Quasar app is with Yarn Create Quasar, so you don't have to say Quasar new anymore, or Quasar Create. I can't remember what it was. So, or I think it's like npx something create Quasar. I can't remember what it is with npm, but something similar.
npm init.
npm init. Can you also then say the
Yeah,
type of project with that?
I'm not sure. I haven't done that.
Yeah.
I do
Anyway,
npm init quasar and it works. That's what I do.
by the way, somebody might be setting up PNPM with Quasar, which is really exciting. I'm
Hmm.
super, especially anybody who wants to like do monorepos. This is really, really exciting news. Um, anyway, let's give it a name. So I'm thinking like Quasar component testing. I'm going to copy that because I'm pretty sure we get another question later on that's like the same. Quasar version 2. TypeScript? No, we'll use JavaScript just in case.
We should start going into TypeScript though.
Yeah,
I'd
we
like to
will.
see, yeah.
We will, but I think I'll do it separately. But yeah, I would
Yep,
like to
yep.
jump into TypeScript at some point. Let's use Vite and hope that everything works fine. Everything's been working fine with me lately with Vite. And we'll just say
I just
Quasar.
get that one weird error I show you, but
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about Vite though is sometimes I get server errors, but I just restart it and it's ready straight away. So I'm like, all right, I'll take that.
yeah.
SAS, even though we won't be writing any. By the way, I never enable Axios here anymore because I always just use Axios with the composition API. So some of you that have
Hmm.
kind of gone all in with the API, composition API, and you're not using the options API, you might actually choose to not tick this even though you're using Axios. So it's an interesting little tidbit. I hate prettier, so I'm going to go to standard. If you're getting
Make
linking
sure you select
problems,
pin.
yeah. So we'll go standard, and we'll use Yarn to go ahead and install this. And I am on a bit of a time crunch. I've got like probably till about 6:45. Knowing me, I'll probably just talk the whole thing away, and we won't even. No, it won't happen.
I mean, there's a lot of nuggets to distill with you talking though. So
Well, this is probably a good opportunity to mention that component testing is just starting to become stable. I'm not sure if it's stable yet with Cypress, but it's pretty stable. What I'm going to show you today is Cypress 9 because Quasar hasn't quite updated to Cypress 10 yet. But Cypress 10 has done this massive update to component testing. So it's going to look a lot different, but most of it kind of works the same way. So let's see the end of that. And then we'll say code dot. And if you don't know what component testing is, that's totally fine. You'll probably like figure it out by the end here. Now, I actually don't even remember what I'm
yeah,
doing.
I have zero idea.
Yeah, component testing is basically it tests it like in kind of like in a real browser environment, and it will actually click around on your components in a real browser. But component testing, I don't know exactly why, but it's way, way faster than end-to-end testing. So rather than having to load up your entire application, it just loads up the component that you need to test. And because of that, you get these like crazy speeds that you don't get with normal testing with Cypress.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, kind of cool.
That's really not what I thought it was going to be, but interesting.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about component testing is it allows you to test in isolation. So which one am I doing here? Let's go here. Yeah, so end-to-end testing, it's kind of harder to do isolation testing, whereas with component testing, you can just grab one specific component. So maybe you've got like a special select component that's doing quite a bit of work, so you want that in its own component. With component testing, you can just test that one component on its own, which is really cool. So let's come down here and figure out how to install the app extension. So we've got an app extension for this that does like all the work for us. And is this just the jest one? No? I thought there was a way to Here we go, end-to-end testing, Cypress. Yeah, so currently this says end-to-end testing, but eventually they're going to change it from end-to-end testing just to testing, because Cypress is no longer only for end-to-end testing. It's also for component testing now. So let's just whack that command in there.
I was trying to help my developer friend get set up the other day with ESLint the way you were helping me out, and man, it
Yeah,
was on a Windows machine too, which added to even more problems with installing the Quasar app extensions and stuff. It was just a nightmare.
yeah, it's frustrating, and it really slow. I mean, you don't even realize how slowed down you are by not having a setup linter until you get a linter.
Yeah, no. Once I got it set up for me, it was just like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right, so extra scripts in your, okay, that sounds good. So I'm going to enable that. No, but of course you got TypeScript support if you want. And I'm not going to enable code coverage because I don't really need it for what we're doing. I haven't even tried it yet, to be honest. So there we go. That's it. It installs pretty crazy fast. Now I need to remember what to do. So we are going to do a little bit of looking at the docs here, but I'll try not to sit here for too long. So it's asking us to say, to add this into our ESLint file. So I don't know exactly why that is, but I'm guessing that you get some linting errors if you don't add this in. So I think they threw that directly in the object. Yeah, overrides directly in the object. And check we don't have overrides already. We don't. So I'm just going to whack it somewhere at random. All right, there we go. And I'm looking for the command for component testing. So let's just search the word component. I think it's just test component. Yeah. So let's see if they added that. I think that thing where they said they were adding things to the package.json was this. Yeah, here we go. So when we install the app extension, we got test component here, and that's going to run component tests. So now I believe I might be able to just say yarn test component. It'd be absolutely amazing if this just works straight off, but because testing is so annoying to set up. There we go. So these are some testing files they give you by default. And the reason we're getting errors here is because it looks like our linter doesn't like some of the stuff that's in some of these files. So how about we say yarn, I think you can say lint -- fix. And that should get at least most of the linting done. And then the rest of them we can do by hand. Now I mean, it's pretty amazing how quickly we can start testing. This used to take forever because you'd have to wait for your Webpack server to start up. You'd have to wait for Cypress to start up, whereas these days it's so much faster. Yeah, there we go. So that's just run all of those tests, render a message, and if you want to actually see what those tests look like, you can come in here and actually see, like, step by step what happened. Should have a positive color, so that's just checking the color. Yeah, but now I guess we can sort of give this a
So,
try
in
with our
what
own test.
situation could you make that fail? Like, just I guess, like, just if you don't write everything right.
Yeah, actually, that's probably a good place to start. Let's make one of these tests fail. Now, I believe the way Cypress does this is it puts the test with your components. Yeah, so component tests, and this is specifically for component tests, not end-to-end tests, they're going to get this _ test _ directory, and that's where you put all of your tests. And this is really cool because it means you can have, for example, a folder for your, I don't know, maybe you've got like a buttons folder or however you want to organize your code. And then inside of there, you might have like some button.view. And then to keep things nice and organized, you could then have your test directory sitting directly in there where you'd then put your tests.
Now, can you tell it to run on a certain like folder specifically, or is it always going to run on components, or how's that work?
Good question. So the way it does it is this is going to mimic your folder structure. So at the moment, they're all just showing that one folder, but usually I would have a little bit more organization to my code so that it's easier to, so that it would be showing these in different folders depending on where my code was. So if I had, for example, a to-dos folder, then this would actually, let's demonstrate that. And then we'll actually do some writing of tests, I promise. So let's just say I've got a to-dos folder here.
I guess that's what I mean. Does it have to be nested in components? Is it only searching through source/components?
Good question. I believe that will tell us in our cypress.json folder. This is for components, and it looks like it's actually searching everywhere. Oh no, it's telling us the folder is source. So anything inside of source that finishes with spec.js is going to be picked up.
Okay.
So that's why you'll notice that the ones in here finish with spec.js. So it finds those.
Okay. I get it. Yep.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can just search up here for like dialogue, which is kind of cool. All right. Man, I'm so used to using 3 or 4 screens, so there's going to be a lot of switching going on here. Yeah, but what you could do then is have inside of here __test__. Let's just like copy one of these. I might just copy that literally. Yeah, let's do it this way. Copy, paste it in there. And then, of course, I'd have to add another .. there. But you can imagine that this Quasar button, would be sitting in here as a to-do button. And that should show up in a different folder there. So it basically automatically organizes your tests for you if you do it this way, which is kind of cool. But yeah, Cypress is really, really easy to test with. Let's have a look at our button, and maybe we'll even add another feature in here. I don't know. What could you do with a button? You could say like, I'm going to start blanking now. How about this? Sorry, go ahead.
Just do like a 2+2, like add click, add 2 values and then test that.
Sure. So let's imagine we've got like a counter sitting inside of this button. How would I do that? Let's say v dash, we'll say label is equal to whatever our counter is. This is probably going to make one of their other tests fail, but that's okay. We'll say count there.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
We'll use script setup here because it's awesome. And we're probably going to need that emits, otherwise the other test is going to fail. So let's say define emits, because we're using script setup, and then I can just whack that directly in there. There we go. So that just simplifies our code a bit. And then we can say const count is equal to a ref. And then let's set that ref equal to 0 by default. And I wonder if we can go side by side or if I'm going to run out of space here. Let's give that a try and cross our fingers. Can I close that out?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all right.
Yeah.
But really what I should be doing, I should be writing the test first, but we'll just do it this way for now. But what I will do is I'll come into my tests, my button test here. And what I like to do is say, so it always starts with it like this, and we might just copy one of these down. It increments by 1 when clicked. That might be what you call a test.
Yep.
And I'm rushing a bit here, so I might not be doing things perfectly. So feel free to write comments for better names, etc. down below. All right, so data C. Okay, this is the next thing I need to show you. So data CY is actually some functionality that Quasar gives us. So when we installed that app extension, it gave us this data cy.data_cy. And by the way, CY stands for Cypress. It's kind of like saying, hey, Cypress, I want you to get an element that has a data CY of button. And I'll show you what that means. If I jump into my button here, notice we've got data CY and then button. So what Cypress does is it has its own way of identifying components. By adding data CY here, it allows us to very easily identify that component without having to change things. So what you could do is you could have an ID equal to button, for example. But the problem with having an ID is you might then have lots of buttons that have the same, that you need to identify. So if we have an ID here, then HTML is going to complain and say, well, you can only have one button that has a certain ID. So that's one of the reasons that we don't use ID. There's a couple of other reasons, but basically it's sort of decoupling the way we identify components with our test. So theoretically, we could actually take out Quasar, replace it with another component library, and make sure that we've got the data CYs still lining up, and all of our tests would still pass, theoretically. So that's one of the reasons we do this, so that our tests aren't as brittle. All right, so basically we're saying data CY, in other words, the one that has a data CY of button, right, which is why we got button here. When you click on that, what should happen? Then it says we should, and we've got the other test before, so I'm going to actually get rid of that and add in my own one here. I like to do these in separate steps, so maybe we could do it after the click. I'm not actually a Cypress Pro yet, by the way. I'm still learning. So when the button is clicked, I want to check if the count, so if the label of that button is equal to 1. So what we should be able to do is say contains, and I might have to use the string 1 because that's then going to be a string. So let's save that, and I should be able to say here dot only, which means only run this test here, so it's going to ignore all of the others. Now this one's in to do, but for some reason it's not showing up, is it? So why isn't that? Oh, okay, I'm on the wrong set of tests. All right, so now we've got an error. This is good. We've got something that we can play around with. No commands were issued. All right, I'm not sure why that was. Quasar button spec. So we're in to do test Quasar button spec. Let's start by removing some of these other ones. If this doesn't work, I might just jump into the other test folder. Let's see if there's anything in the console that will give me a hint of what's wrong. Okay, cannot read properties of undefined reading emit. So it looks like I have an error in my code. It might have something to do with this here. So let's get rid of the $sign and say const emit is equal to define emit. I wonder if that's going to fix it. Let's print that error to the console. If this doesn't work, I'll just jump into the other test directory. All right, I'm not seeing anything
Really not
there.
sure what that's saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's okay. In the interest of time, I'm just going to, well, let's copy our test first. Copy that. And let's delete this to do folder. And we'll jump into our actual Quasar button. I mean, I was doing something kind of weird there anyway, so let's bring us back to a simpler example. And since I've got that dot only, it should only run this test. So let's save that. We'll come back here. Jump into the button spec. And there we go. Okay, so this is working. So that's failing, but it's failing in a way that we would expect it to. So notice that it says it's kind of checking if it contains 1, and it waits a while before it fails.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is one of the cool things. Yeah, this is one of the cool things about Cypress. It's basically going to wait a little bit of time, in this case, 4 seconds, and it's going to keep checking if it equals 1. Now, of course, it doesn't equal 1 because currently when we click on it, it's not actually doing anything there for it to equal 1.
Yeah.
So what I might do is I might just turn this into a function like this. We're doing this kind of a janky way for now because I want to keep calling that emit so that the tests beforehand don't fail.
Yep,
and now I believe we can just say count plus plus. And there we go, the test pass. So what happens is it comes in here and it automatically so it finds the button, automatically clicks on it, and then it says, hey, I want to check this button that I just clicked has got a value of 1 in it. And then what we might be able to do, I don't think I can call click again. I'll tell you why in a second, which is going to be an important thing to demonstrate. Okay, so that actually did work. I thought maybe it wouldn't. Because I thought contains might actually have scoped it down a little bit further. But anyway, you can forget I said that. But yeah, now we can just sort of keep clicking down. And then if we try and click it again, it should equal 3, so that will fail. And there we go.
I was just going to say that. Yep. Wonderful.
Yeah, it expected it to be 2, but it didn't. It failed because, of course, in that case, it should be 3. So how cool is that?
Cool.
I mean, I reckon this is
That's really
wicked
cool. Yeah.
sick. And like
Yeah. No, that's like super useful. Yeah.
yeah, totally.
So you said, but you, and I know I've read it too. So you write tests first though before you write the code for the component.
Yeah, so when you're starting out, I wouldn't worry.
Maybe like okay. I was gonna say maybe demonstrate that like how you would do it in like a production environment.
Well, I actually kind of did just then. So we actually wrote this
Yeah.
functionality. I mean, I kind of half wrote some of the functionality
Yeah.
here. Um, but yeah, we wrote this bit of code first.
How extensive do you have to get with it? Like
As extensive as you want. Some people that build larger applications that need to work and it's vital that they work are going to put a lot of time into testing and they're going to write a lot of tests that try and cover as many edge cases as possible. Whereas some people that are building smaller applications might not even warrant testing at all. If you're building something that's really simple, the UI doesn't change, it's a one-off thing, then it might actually be, you might not even want to spend time writing tests in the first place. But most applications, you're going to, build a little bit over time. Somebody in the future might come back and sort of take on that application. And it's really nice for them to be able to change things and know that they can run all of your tests after they've changed some of the code and, and make sure they haven't broken anything somewhere else in the application. So you got to take all these things in mind. Like a lot of people are very straight and narrow with testing. And you'll find that especially people that are in larger companies or or people that have dealt with large projects will often be very hardcore about testing. I think that when you're starting out, definitely dip your toe in testing and try and get on the testing quote unquote train as quickly as possible. But don't beat yourself up over it if you've spent like a few months or even like a year or so learning and you still haven't learned testing. But just as kind of a rule of thumb, once you've been in it for about a year, it's probably a good idea to start looking at how you might want to test your code, uh, because it's going to help you cover your tracks a little bit more in the future.
makes sense.
Yeah. Did you have any questions on that so far? Did you want to? I've got about 5 minutes. Do you want
No,
to try
like
something else?
I mean, I guess just another use case or something because that's I see how this works. I see the use of it. I don't know. I maybe some more syntax with like another example with Cypress, just instead of like or some more. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So one of the cool things about, I will just mention one more thing, and then I'll move on to using QSelect because there's a little, when you're dealing with dialogues, Quasar actually gives us some helper components for working with pop-ups. So, for example, QSelect, QMenu, QDialog, they have some sort of special use cases that are specific to Quasar. So that's probably a good next thing to show. But first, I want to tell you one of the huge benefits of testing in this way. And that is without even writing any tests. So I could just get rid of this code here, right? And we could even just say, if you're just starting out, you could just say it works. So you mount the component, you check that you can find it. Now, one of the cool things about this is you can now start playing around with that component on its own. All right. Or another way of saying this is you can now start playing with this component in isolation. And that's really awesome because you now don't have to create an index page. You don't have to set up all your routes. You don't have to do any of that fancy stuff. You just mount the component with this code
Oh,
here and you start playing around. Yeah, it's really cool. And the other,
oh, that I get that. That's interesting.
yeah, so I'm starting to recommend to people install Cypress, get component testing set up because it's really easy with Quasar now because the Quasar team has made it ridiculously easy. Get it set up and don't even test your application if you don't want to. But still get it set up so that you can play with components easily, so that you can make a playground.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
I like that.
so another thing we can do when we're doing our tests is pass in some props. So at the moment, this has a color of positive. Maybe we want to make it so we can set our own color for Q button. Now, of course, Q button does this already, but let's just imagine it doesn't, and we're actually going to pass through a color like this. By the way, I like having my script tag at the top. This is a pattern I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot now, and I find it a lot easier.
No, I wish Quasar could have like a secondary build function for a script tag at the top and convert it to script setup. Like I'd love to help contribute for that or something because I know it's just like worthless time. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
It'll probably happen soon because I know that a lot is about to happen on the scaffolding side of Quasar.
Okay.
And there's constantly little things that are being updated, like especially on the TypeScript world. The stuff the team's doing there is just insane. Quasar had virtually no typing, and over the past few years, it's just been improving and improving. Like it's amazing, especially Kalo and Yusuf. Those guys are just okay. Anyway, I love those guys. The stuff they're doing for the Quasar team is the community is
I love
amazing.
your enthusiasm. I love your enthusiasm about it, honestly. Like
Yeah, well, I've got it. I got plenty of enthusiasm for this framework.
Uh-huh.
So let's say define props here, and we'll add in a prop called color, and let's make it required false. You don't need to add this in, and let's give it a default equal to gray. Actually, this will be a really good test. Checking that default works. I don't even know how to do that, so we'll try that in a second. So give it a default of gray, and then a type equal to string. All right, so we probably don't actually need to define props there because we're not even using it. So save that. And now what I might do is, so if you're just playing around with this component, by adding a second parameter here, we can now give it props. So I can say color is equal to green, and that didn't work. I don't know what I've done wrong there. I assume that would have worked. Oh, sorry, I've done this in the wrong spot. I did that on data CY, and I was supposed to do it on the mount. So as you mount it, the second
Okay.
parameter is any props that you want to
Yeah,
pass
that
through,
makes sense. That makes sense.
which is still not working, but default of gray, the color is passed through here. Yeah, interesting. I wonder what I'm doing wrong there. Let's just quickly control click into there. And I was just writing code like this today, so I'm pretty sure that... Oh, okay, yeah. It's
I
nested
was
one
just
step
gonna say,
further.
how can you look at that?
Oh, honestly, I can't grok all of that. This is something I need to get better at.
I
That's basically
just
the typing
oh
for it.
yeah.
Yeah, these are the
uh,
types. And it is a little bit hard to grok. Basically, what I'm doing there is I'm saying, okay, I've got mounted. I get a component here, and then I have to scan through to find this comma, and then I see I get options. And then by seeing that that was options and not props, I then realized, oh, wait a second, I meant to pass through options here, meaning that props is probably nested inside of there. So we go to mounting options. I then thought, okay, so if I jump into here, there's props there. And then you can pass through
Christ.
data if you need, or you can pass through attributes. You can pass through slots. That's kind of how I read that. Yeah, I don't understand all of
Yeah.
this yet. I need to get...
Duh.
You can go back and watch the... Oh, there we go. That worked. So, let's make this a
uh,
bit smaller. By the way, the new Cypress UI for this is really, really sexy. For Cypress 10, they've done a bit of an upgrade to it, or a huge upgrade to it. Yeah. So now we can just play around with this more. We can give it some props just to check that all of that's working okay. As we're developing here, maybe you want to check if rounded works. So let's save that. And there we go. It's not rounded anymore. So you can come in here and say rounded. You know, if the Quasar team wanted to test... Oh, sorry, I need to set that equal to true. Yeah. If the Quasar team wanted to test specific props, this is how they might be doing it. They might be just sending them through like this. So, yeah, it's really cool. Another thing is data. So you might want to just send some data directly through. Let me see if I can do a quick example for this. Let's set that ref to a default value. So we could come in here and say default value required false default is equal to 0. And then the type of that will be a number. And then we can just say props.default value. So I'm now going to have to set this equal to props. And now that should have a default value equal to either... Oh, oops, I wrote default wrong. Yeah, so we get 0 by default. Or we can now pass through some props here and say default value because I want to just test if this works. And let's set it to 8. And there we go, it works. So this is why I'm telling people, if you don't want to test with
Yeah.
Cypress, that's totally fine. But like for developing,
Have it there.
developing components at a low level and then gradually building those components up. So for example, like I wish I had more time and I'd show you how we could then like put this into a table, for example, and then test the table component that is then using this, and how you would then test another component that uses that table and show you how you can just create this string of components very easily and test them in isolation on their own. It's really
Well,
wonderful.
part two.
Yeah, part 2. So sorry, I didn't mention like all the select stuff I said I was going to. But
You're okay.
yeah, actually I should check if anybody's commented. I need to get used to that. That is awesome. The only issue with tests is you have to debug your tests and maintain them as you modify your app. Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess it depends on what the on how solid the setup is. And sometimes as one person, especially if you don't have a lot of experience, it can feel like a bit like you're spending all of your time setting up the environment, which is what's really cool about all the work that the Quasar team's done now. They've made it so easy to set up this environment. I mean, I showed you at the start of this video. I might even be able to just press up here. No, okay, it's not there anymore. But basically, we just ran that. Let's just shut this down. Yeah, we just ran this command, and most of the setup was done for us, and we even had these test components ready to go. So how cool is that? Super easy to get up and
Yeah.
running with Quasar if you wanted
I'm
to use
gonna I'm gonna
Cypress
play
testing.
around with it now.
Yeah, have a play. Let me know what you think.
Definitely. I've been thinking about it because I got to start rewriting everything I've been working on in TypeScript, and then I wanted to implement testing because I don't want to like rewrite it a third time, So I just want to get a good base foundation soon.
Yeah, yeah, good idea. It's good to jump on the TypeScript train. See, I believe it's good to jump on it
I
early. I
yeah,
know that some people are
I
gonna like
already
give me flack for that, but
no TypeScript's amazing. I mean, I already started using it like 2 years ago. I just haven't jumped back into it since I learned Rust, but now it should be easy. So
do you think that it's easier after coming from a Rust background? Because Rust is so
I
strongly
think
typed.
yeah. I mean, it's when I tried playing around with TypeScript a little bit, and I maybe spent 2 or 3 days with it like a couple weeks ago. And when I was converting my initial algorithm from Rust over to JavaScript, and it was a lot easier to think or to get used to JavaScript having TypeScript in the middle. But then like I don't know now because I've been in the JavaScript world a little too long. Like it's just everything's up in the air over here. So
Yeah, yeah. I suppose it's
I
funny
just
because
getting nulls all the time and undefines and all that, and just having like hands up in the air, like 1 + 1 = 11. So that's why I want to get back into TypeScript because I really loved how structured Rust was in that sense.
yeah. The other thing is the other thing for me, and probably one of the biggest benefits from TypeScript I've found is auto completion. And also,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
forces me to write code in such a way that I get auto completion. So, like, some people will say, well, why don't you just add, doc block comments, which is a valid.
No, no.
I mean, it's valid. Like, some people prefer to write doc block comments. It keeps their code looking a bit cleaner, maybe, because it doesn't have the types in there. Um, and I don't know. Maybe there's probably a lot of validity to that, but I kind of like being forced
Does
to.
TypeScript have enums? Right?
Yeah, but
I know. Yeah, I
if
know Rust does. Rust enums are amazing to use, especially with the type support and yeah, IntelliSense. It's just you'll love Rust, man. You really will.
I think enums is like. Oh man, I'm going to embarrass myself here because I don't know the TypeScript well very
It's
much.
kind of
But
yeah.
like you could say type, um,
Like an enum would be like logged in states, and you could have like logged in, logged out, or connecting. So then logged in states could only be one of three options. It can't be anything else. Like that's how I consider an enum in my head. You know?
so is it kind of like this? Logged in, logged out,
Yeah.
something like that. So if you wanted to know
Yep.
your current state, it would be one of those strings.
And it can't be anything else. It's the syntax is a little differently, but yeah. I mean, and then you can structure it too. So like at least in the Rust world, like your enum can be different types of data inside of it, so it's you can do very powerful things with them. I'll have to
Yeah.
look at the TypeScript equivalent. I'm sure they're in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the great things I like is especially if you're doing lower level libraries, you put the if you're the one, if there's a person building the library, you write things in TypeScript. You know that the consumer is going to get really nice auto completion. And that's one of the things I love. Even if it was just for people on my own team, by putting in the extra work myself, I know everybody that uses my code from then on, even if they're not using TypeScript, are going to get a really nice amount of auto completion that,
Oh, really? It like feeds up into the JavaScript?
yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I believe you get, like, you can generate basically type files that sit inside your node module so that when somebody,
Because isn't is view auth written in TypeScript?
yes.
That's what I thought. I was looking through the code. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you'll notice that when you use view auth, even when you're using JavaScript, you get really nice typing,
Hmm.
um, which it makes a huge difference. Like, it's for someone, if you write a lot of code all day long, you get sick of things not being correctly typed, like not typed. So you can't, you
Yeah.
always have to go to the docs, and sometimes people just don't update their docs or whatever. And I'm just thinking, look, if you just wrote types for your files, that would be totally fine. Because then, even though I can't go through the docs, at least I can explore what your code is doing without having to look at the code itself. Especially for something that's
Yeah.
complex, you just know straight away how it works by adding a dot. You just,
Again, yeah, like again, that's the thing. The beautiful part about Rust is like you actually do not need documentation for Rust. Everything
yeah.
explains itself. No, yeah, everything explains itself. Everything is its own docs. Like you can just click on stuff and it just everything is perfect. Yeah, you'll love it.
And this is one of the great things about Vue Use, because everything in Vue Use is typed. By the way, works on Vue 2 and Vue 3, everything in Vue Use. Um, and I barely have to look at the docs. Like, you just use it and it works. Even stuff like use global state. So I don't use Pina, I just use global state with Vue Use, or create global state, of course. And then it just types everything for you. So based on the stuff that you return, so based on the state that you return, everything gets nicely typed. So instead of using Pina, all I do is use this use global state composable. Um, okay, this is not the best example that they've got here, at least for the way that I use it. But yeah, and it just automatically types it for you. So they do a whole bunch of typing stuff under the hood to make sure you have to do minimal effort to get really nice typing. And so you just set up your global state and everything is nicely typed. And I think Pina's like that as well. I think Pina's pretty type friendly too. But yeah,
Super interesting.
yeah, if you're using TypeScript, anything in this library, which basically writes all of your code for you, is going to be nicely typed.
Yeah, I gotta get converted over to it.
Yeah. Anyway,
Maybe tomorrow's project. Yep. Thank you very much, man.
yeah, that could be fun. Maybe we could do like a stream tomorrow and we could dive. I don't know. Just
Yeah,
write an
I'll
agenda and we'll just
scaffold.
go through stuff.
Yeah, I'll scaffold out a project for us to convert over, like something small.
But by the way, if anybody is watching this in the future and they want to do like I don't know, just like an online chat with me that we can, live stream and then sort of share with other people, then feel free to hit me up on Discord. I'll quickly just put my Discord in here. Shoot something in the comments if you like, or better still, just hit me up on Discord. Let me
Hmm.
know that you want to do like a live stream or you're having a problem with something. Um, if you're happy to live stream it, me helping you with the problem, then I'm happy to help you out with that for free. Like I
Yeah.
do, I do charge some clients for this kind of thing. But yeah, like I said, if you're going to live stream the problem with me, then everybody benefits. And at least for the next few months, I'd like to try doing that for people for free. So let me know if you have any issues. Hit me up on Discord, and maybe we can set that up.
Yeah, it sounds like a good plan. I mean, there's a lot of value in it. Like it's exponential value, honestly. So
Ah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it just In the last 2 weeks, I'm getting stuff accomplished that's like 2 years ago just never seemed possible, even in 5. So it's good.
Ah, awesome. I
Yep,
need that quote.
appreciate it.
Just kidding.
But no, it's good. Like I said, it's like it's the ergonomics of stuff. Like I
Mm.
mean, if people are paying attention, like when I watch your videos, I usually it's not so much what you're saying. I mean, it's a lot about what you're saying, but it's what you're doing, like where the mouse is going, how you're checking files, trying to think about what your brain's doing to get through that problem. Because like that's where the experience and knowledge is. You know, like that's what you're not going to find in how to make a blog post number 3,000 on Medium. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's it's that kind of I get this too. This is why I love doing this kind of thing because I got so much benefit from Laracast. Jeffrey Way does this kind of stuff, and this the tiny things that yeah you otherwise don't pick up.
Yep, 100%.
But yeah, is there anything you
Like
want
I
to talk
said,
about
it's
next time? Sorry, I just
I
interrupted.
no, you're fine. I think that tomorrow, so I'm still working on the Pinia stuff. I feel like tomorrow I'll get a project scaffolded up ready to start converting over to TypeScript, and then we can have it like on a low level where like someone just has like a really base level project and they want to implement TypeScript or they want to implement testing on it from the start the right way. Because like I like what you said earlier about like a bottom up approach as opposed to starting with pages. Like let's figure out let's do it with let's try to learn like bottom up development with TypeScript and testing. We don't
Okay,
have to do that tomorrow, but that's something that's a whole slew of things to get into.
another thing I might add in here. So a project with TypeScript and component test. Uh, I think see this is the big caveat here. All of this stuff is great if you
But
have a
it's too much
plan.
at once. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess it is a lot
Well,
at once.
well, I mean,
But
yeah.
I was gonna say specifically, it's quite difficult, especially to do component testing and build things from the bottom up, if you don't have a plan and you don't see what you're going to
Well,
do first.
the yeah, we're doing the blog post for Quasarcast, so we could work on scaffolding that out the proper way, and then I could finish it off with all the work I've been doing this week.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe something like that. I don't know.
I want to. I think I want to try something that's more maybe. I mean, it's so cliche the to do app, but maybe we could do something similar
I
to a
mean,
do app or different, like a
I
room
honestly,
booking.
what
Sorry, go
the
ahead.
thing that we really need to do. No, no, continue. The room booking is a great idea. That's easy. That's the same thing too. It's just like a spin on it, but what I think really needs to be shown is once the to do app is done, like to do app 10,000, like actually have it like hosted the right way or like what to do with that. I mean, I've done it myself a lot, but who knows if it's the right way, you know? I know nowadays you just use Netlify though, so
Yeah. Okay. So like, basically, you're saying deploying it as well.
yeah, because it's like I'm not saying there's not knowledge to be gained with making another project. There is, because like there's everything changes and evolves, your knowledge changes and evolves. So seeing how to do it currently is always great. But like there's
Mm.
not a lot about deployment out there, like not too much. Like every time I went to deploy stuff, you're really just going through DigitalOcean docs or Linode docs and like hoping for the best. At least that's what I found as a self-taught developer.
Well, actually, let's quickly bring it up and see what Quasar gives you for deploying, because I know they give you some stuff. Um,
It was pretty easy to get a Quasar app on the internet before. I just don't know if I did it all right, and like I don't know really like I don't know what you need to look for.
Man, they don't even cover Netlify. Oh, maybe I should contribute that.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's there's like small little gaps because a lot of the people who
Mm.
like are working on this are very advanced in their craft. So like there's like a lot of assumed tribal knowledge coming from a self-taught perspective and not in the industry. I'm sure if I had a senior in my life, I could ask them for all of these questions and then it would just be in like a document that we have on site, but that's not the case.
Okay, I want to do this properly from scratch. So I want to play.
Yeah.
Let's plan out a project. How does this sound?
Okay.
We'll plan out a project. We'll
Plan
have
it up in Miro the way you like to do it. That way I can see your structure too. Because when
yeah.
I made a thing today for UI, like going through a UI setup, and my buddy was saying like use diamonds in the middle for the yes nos, small stuff like that. Didn't pick that up, but it's good to know.
Say that again. Use diamonds in the middle.
Yeah, so like when you're going through a decision tree, to use a diamond for like the question and then the yes no chain off of it. Because I was trying to go through and like design out a UI. So let me see. Let me get the picture. I need
Okay.
to send it.
I mean, I'd need some training on that. I've come up with my own sort of thing where I just like roughly sketch it on
Yeah.
Miro. And since I'm using Quasar, like I already know what the components are, and I don't even bother with what they look like. It's kind of just a yeah. Oh, sorry, my girlfriend's just got home. I'm just gonna open the door.
No worries.
Hello. Oh, I gotta turn the heater off. Sorry, it's gonna be hot in here.
That always happens. You just program it sweating and not even noticing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Like 80, 90, or 40
Yeah.
for you guys.
Sorry, I do need to help my friend in a second.
Yep, yep,
So I'll
yep.
have to get up. But I want to make sure we got a plan here. I definitely want to not forget to do linting because it's just the worst. When you don't have a good linting setup. Um, so yeah, then we'll build it using TypeScript and component testing. And this will be good for me too because I'm still like I've been probably coding with TypeScript about a year now, which really isn't that long when you've been coding with JavaScript for a long time. You know, I still get frustrated with it
Yeah.
every now and then, but this will be a good
No,
learning
it's but
experience for
that's
me
the
too.
thing. But that's the thing though, is like if people know what to look for, watching you deal with the problem is so useful. Because it's like that's 7 years of knowledge going at a problem. That's a lot different than 1 or 2 years of knowledge. So there's a lot to be gained by seeing you like how you doc dive, how you like check stuff. So yeah, at least
Yeah,
I gain a lot from it.
yeah. Actually, that's a good point. That one, like, I've met a few developers that didn't know about Control F, where you can just find anything on a page with Control F, like little things like that, and it totally changes your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all the small ergonomics like that, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I
But
better
yeah,
go. Thanks everybody for watching. We got a
no
few comments
worries.
on the stream as well, which is kind of cool. Apparently my sound is a bit low, so
My sound is terrible.
I'll have to remember to fix that next time. I can hear you pretty well.
Hmm. Well, I
Wait.
appreciate your time like always, man. I will work on implementing all this tonight, like I do, and yeah, get back in the morning.
All right. See you everyone. Catch you next time.
Have a good one, buddy.